Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and here on the show, we love to talk about everything health related, physical, spiritual, emotional, business, personal. Doesn't make a difference as long as it can improve your life. Today's show is no different, and I'm really excited to share with you my next guest, who has been an Olympic water polo player and coach. He's also climbed some pretty amazing mountains that he's going to tell us how simple they were for all of us to do. And even most importantly, he talks about culture and change. Change can be a very scary word to a lot of people, and yet the world is changing around us. How can we approach it in a way that actually elevates what we do? Make sure you sit tight. We're going to take a couple minutes to listen to our sponsors, and then we are going to be right back with my next guest.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? I am super excited to introduce you to my next guest because he is a fellow speaker. We've actually been to a couple cities together, which may sound really interesting, and it may not turn out to be so much. We're going to find out today. Welcome to the podcast today, Chris Dyer.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, this is an absolute pleasure. I have to tell you, I know this isn't going to air at the same time, but you are my second guest on the recording today with the most awesome glasses.
Well, if you're not cool, if you're not wearing cool glasses, I mean,
I'm learning that actually. It's becoming a real big thing. And I'm going to have to, I have some red ones, but I'm going to have to invest, I think, in some cooler ones because it's definitely a thing.
what I did is I just bought a whole bunch of cheap ones from China and then just tried what colors do I like, what kind of shapes and frames, and like, what do people like? What do people hate? And these are the ones that like people were strangers. I'll tell you, not my family and friends who know me. They're like, no, you cannot change our view of you. But like strangers in the airport would be like, excuse me, are you in a movie? Like it was noticeably different when I wore these. I have these in orange, and like strangers would walk up to me and be like, you look like an idiot. Like, so it's like, okay, orange ones are going in the trash, So yeah, I would say go get some fun ones and like play around with it and see what you like before you go and invest, in the really high quality, like the Heather McGowan, high quality glasses.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. And for everybody who's listening and not watching, they are white. So
Okay.
just so you have a visual of what Chris might be looking like while you're listening to the podcast, they're away, and they are fantastic. So you just said something really interesting that I want to talk about today, because this is a big deal for you. You changed your glasses, and you changed them according to what people may or may not have said to you or about you. And change is a really interesting word. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because you're a big advocate of learning about change in the environment.
Yeah. I think that we want ourselves and ultimately those people around us, whether we're talking about at home or we're talking about our communities or we're talking about work, we want people to thrive through change, not survive change, not, hunker down and hope it doesn't happen to us, because it does. Change is inevitable, and it is only happening faster and faster. Like, this is what I talk a lot about in my keynotes is like, well, why does it feel faster now? And is it really faster? And the answer is yes. And then, like, well, what the heck do we do about it? And how do we like survive and thrive? And, I don't know, just like make it something that can help us and something we can leverage and something that we can, I don't know, get better from. And, that's kind of like my perspective of it. And I think when I tell people like how to do that and why it's happening, they all like relax. It's amazing. They all kind of go, oh, kind of like they exhale a little bit, and they kind of get excited then to maybe go try things. And this is a really long answer, but this comes from when I wanted to change everything in my company. The first wall I ran into was that nobody wanted to change anything. Even if they didn't like how things were, they were like, okay, but this is the devil I know. I don't want to change and do something that might be worse or I don't like. So I had to learn how to get people on board with change. That was like my first big, like, I got to figure this out before I figure out how to actually change the culture.
So is it fear that drives people, do you think, to be in that survival mode, to not want to change? Or are there other components that keep us stuck?
That for me, what I've observed, and I've had thousands of employees and people that I've been able to lead and manage, it's mediocrity. Most people are not afraid. It's not like you have high, steady people who just like things the way they are, but those people can be sold over if something's better for them. They understand what's in it for them. Honestly, it's just that people get comfortable. Like, this is good enough. And my job, and if I'm the leader, if I'm the keynote speaker on stage, like the North Star for me is that I want you to create a workplace where it is the best place your people will ever work. Not that it's good, not that it's even great. It's the best place. And if they leave, they're going to regret that decision until the day they die, or they come back and reapply, because they're going to be like, that was the best place I ever worked. That was the best boss I ever had. That's the best people I ever worked with. Like, that's what I'm talking about. So I don't want a mediocre environment, and I don't want people to be stuck in that mediocrity, but I think that's where they're really sitting, right?
They are. So you've got a story pertaining to that. Will you share your story?
Sure. Which one are you talking about? The one I told when we were in Denver?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So actually, I just like 10 minutes ago, before we got on the podcast, just finished up the last bits of the book that I wrote as a result of the conversation that you and I were a part of with this group we were in. And it really comes from me I had done a keynote, and there was 2 employees, old employees that used to work for me in the company I had that I sold. And they agreed I was like, hey, I'm not too far from you all. Like, how about we all go have dinner? And they're like, cool, let's have dinner. Went to wine, went to dinner, went to drinks after dinner. Everything's great. We're reminiscing the old days. And then they suddenly turned on me and they said, you know what? We're still really mad at you. I'm like, are you talking to me? We're talking to the waiter? Like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean you're mad at me? And the reason I was so like shocked by this statement is they both did really well. I took care of them. They got bonuses. They were like, senior people. They did really, really well. They've done really well in the new company. They've gotten promotions. Career trajectory. They're making more money now at the new company than they ever made with me. And that's what I'm telling them this. I'm like, guys, I don't understand. Like, you've now purchased dream homes in this new area where you're at, and like things are going great. And they go, you don't, one of them said, you don't understand, like that was the best of times. That was the best work I ever did. And that's not how it is now. Like they weren't complaining about the new company. They weren't saying it was bad. Not at all. They like their jobs, but they said that was the best it's ever been. And then the other person turned to me and said, I'd give all the money back for us to be back in that company doing that work together.
Interesting.
And I was so blown away, and I was so like insulted and complimented all at the same time, right? I drove home, drove back, like it was like 2 hours to the airport the next day, and I'm just like, what just happened? And it took me a while to process. And what I realized is they had said to me what I've been trying to say to people on stage, which is we're trying to create that environment, right?
So get granular for me. What about that environment, if you could reproduce it, was so important that those two people still feel that way today?
I mean, that's a really long answer, but let's start at the beginning. The beginning, and which is what we were just talking about with change. We figured out how to master change by getting people really comfortable with doing experiments, with being willing to try things and then say whether or not it was any good. It wasn't like here comes senior management with this giant new initiative, and no matter what, we're going to do it because Bob in accounting said we had to. Like, that's not how we did things. We got ideas and we would try them out in one department or with one team, and then we would expand it, and then we would bring it back to everyone and say, this is what we learned. This is what we did. This is how it worked out. Should we do this for the whole company? Like, should this be something we think about doing? And that process, and then we would like do things and screw it up and fail, or we would make things worse, and we would show up and say, we tried this thing. It sucked. And we're not going to do it anymore. It's trash. And people, I think, really respected the fact that we didn't just one size fits all giant initiative thing. It's like we tried things out. We were transparent, highly communicative about it, did the ones that worked, trashed the ones that didn't, listened to them constantly about what was working. And that created an environment of iteration where we were constantly getting better. So it wasn't like I showed up one day on my horse and said, I proclaim this the greatest company ever. It's not that. And it's not that I was this amazing CEO that did everything right and perfect, because I did not. But I do think what I got right was that I was helping and facilitating this desire for us to get 1% better all the time. Incrementally better all the time. How do I get a little bit better? And that was palatable for people and powerful for people and possible for people to do every single day. Yeah. And there has to be a place for that. So I often hear, clients and people tell me, I have an open door policy. We have a great culture. Okay. But that doesn't mean people are going to walk in your door and tell you that stuff. Just because your door is open doesn't mean they're going to walk in it. And what we found is we had to create spaces and places for people to tell us those crazy ideas and to be brave enough to suck and just say something that didn't ever work. We've seen Google used to do you could have a certain amount of time that you could work on side projects. And that's how a lot of some of their big initiatives were built. There's famous examples of companies that one Friday a month, you could work on anything you wanted as long as you brought it back and basically reported back to the company, what did you work on? What did you learn? What did you get? Again, you were creating that space. We used to do tsunami planning meetings. This was something we came up with once a month. Every team did a 30-minute tsunami planning meeting. Senior team would come up with what the prompt was for the month. And it could be, what would happen if Chris was in a coma for 6 months? Go. What would happen if we doubled our business next year? Go. Like sometimes they're negative, sometimes they're positive. What would happen if we were rapidly growing and at the same time we could never hire anybody? Like, what would we do? Like, just these crazy things. And that gave them the permission to suck, to say things. Because if I say a great idea, I'm not necessarily going to be in charge because this is a fake thing. If I say something stupid, no one's going to get mad or laugh at me because, again, this is some crazy thing that Chris gave us to do. Like, this is right. So all of like the pressure was off. And so what we found is that we got amazing innovative ideas out of that. We also found out that that was a kind of a meeting maintenance, a way for leaders to figure out if their meetings were probably not going well during the month. Because in this meeting, when everyone's excited and we're talking about a fake thing, if Bob won't shut up, Bob probably isn't shutting up in other meetings too. And if Tamara is never talking, then she's probably not talking in other meetings too. And so that coaching can start happening, right? So it gave the leaders this really important glimpse into what was happening in meetings they weren't always in, on how to like, okay, because you know what? If Bob never shuts up, guess what? Your whole team is like sabotaged because they don't feel heard and those ideas don't come up. And if Tamara's not heard, then her ideas aren't getting up to the surface. So like that for us, like that was the way to do it. And you can steal that idea and go do it tomorrow, or find some, like you just said, you created a space for that. And there's lots of different ways to do that, but it has to be intentional. Mm-hmm. So it has to be like on the agenda. It has to be, or a certain kind of meeting at a certain time. I've told the story before, and it might be a good one to tell now. So if you'll bear with me for a second, being a speaker, I have stories in my head. So, and I speak in story apparently. Many years ago, my wife and I took our boys on a little tour around Austria, Germany, and the Czech Republic. And I made the mistake, because they were under 21 at the time, of telling them that if we happened to go to a beer garden, they could have a beer, because in Germany, you only have to be 14 to have a beer. And so they could have a beer. Of course, as you might well imagine, they found a way to get to a beer garden every single day. When I asked them, hey, what do you want for breakfast? I would like a sausage and a pretzel. Like they were smart enough to get themselves a beer every day. We fell in love with the beer garden culture there. I mean, just being outdoors and the music playing and little food stands, and no one's drinking to get drunk. You just have a beer, you hang out, you talk to people. Like, it's cool. We came home and decided we would replace our traditional summer party where we invite 40 people and maybe 20 show up with a beer garden party. And I said, we're only having these German food and German beer, and you must dress up in either Bavarian costumes or you got to wear German colors. We'll have a lifeguard and you can bring your kids during the day. And if you don't want to be around kids, we'll also have a nighttime version of this. It's like a big giant open house all day. And so there are no kids allowed. When that sun goes down, your kids better be gone. I had these really intentional rules, thinking everyone's going to hate me. No one's going to show up. I invited 40 people and 55 people showed up. So more people than I invited came, but people brought people I didn't even invite to the party. And the reason for this is that they knew what the rules were. I had given them so much structure and so many rules that they wanted to show up because they knew how to act. They knew when to be there. They knew when not to be there. I mean, the most popular party is a birthday party. And the reason for that is because we know we're allowed to leave when you do the singing and the cake. That is the official end. I'm allowed to go now. I don't have, Maybe for little kids, you watch them open the presents, but like there's a real strong beginning and end, which is why so many people come to that party, and there's structure to it. And I was like, when I realized this, and so over the years now, the party is 150 people every summer when we do it. And it costs me as much money as I could probably just go to Germany and have a nice trip with my wife now. Like it's gotten out of hand. But I learned that people need the structure. They need the rules. They need the intentionality. They need to know, how do I show up in this meeting? And so for you, if you're saying, I hope you'll show up to this meeting and embrace this idea, I don't think they will. You'll have maybe one, or maybe a senior person might. But I think if you put it on the agenda in every meeting or in certain meetings, like I think then they will know they're allowed to do it, and they'll show up and do it because the permission has been given, the expectation has been given. And if that doesn't work, maybe give them a German beer, and then they might give you a little more ideas. Have to lead by example and just make it crystal clear. People like us do things like this. This is how we act. This is how we do things. You want to come to a party in my house, you better dress up and be a part of the frivolity, right? Like, and I tell them, if you bring Coors Light to my house, I'm throwing it out on the street. Like I tell them this in advance, in the pre-party warnings, and they're not invitations, they're warnings of like what's going to happen. Yeah. Yes. Well, now they're of legal age. So when at my house, you have to be 21, but we have to follow the American rules, of course. But yeah. Yeah. Listen, what I was told my children was, if you're going to do something stupid or illegal, at least don't get caught. At least be smart about it. Like, yeah. My greatest disappointment of my children is their inability to lie properly. I mean, they're just really terrible at it. I'm like, come on, you got to be better than this. How did I figure this out in 2 seconds? Come on. Right. Right. I think so. Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I don't know. I mean, they're all in their 20s, figuring out their lives, doing their stuff, and you're in that weird phase where you're a phone call away when they need something, but you are 5 or 6 voicemails before they'll call you back if they don't need anything. Right? They're in that little stage of life where they're doing their own thing right now. And I remember being the same way, where like I don't really remember talking to my parents very much in my 20s, and then like in my 30s, I was suddenly talking to them all the time. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. That's right, right. You go with the communication platform that they respond to. I just like employees. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I mean, certainly the whole reason that I'm a speaker and an author and do any of the stuff that I do is because I was completely screwing it up myself and my own company. And when I realized that, I had to go back and fix it. And, I guess it's like realizing that, you're making terrible food every day. And so like, I'll go make good food. Okay, what does good food look like? Let me go find recipes. And when I went to go look for a recipe on how do I make a good culture, I wasn't getting like a clear answer. I would get, if we're going to use food as an example, instead of like how to make a Thanksgiving meal, I was finding recipes for stuffing and I was finding recipes for cranberry sauce. But like, I wasn't finding anything that was like, here's how to do the whole thing as one big giant thought. And that was missing. Now, maybe it existed. Maybe it was out there. I couldn't find it. And so I spent that time piecing those things together. And again, with that change management component that was so important, because I could come with the best idea ever and no one was going to move if I didn't understand that piece. And so we started figuring that out and doing that stuff. And then like all of a sudden winning all these awards, like 15 years in a row of best place to work. We had never gotten that before. 5 times on the Inc. 5000's fastest growing list. We had never gotten that before. And so people started noticing like, you're doing this different stuff, Chris, and it's like really working. Can you come and talk about that? And I was like, okay. And I'm talking to 6 HR folks in the back of a Best Western and having pancakes and like, that's my pay. And like, and I'm having fun. But like, then it was, well, I can go speak to my clients. My clients were HR, staffing and recruiting, like perfect thing to go talk to them about. And so they were also then buying from me because my business was selling to them, those groups especially. And so it was just all an accident, and then I did a podcast for 10 years because I wanted to keep learning. I wanted to keep getting the secrets from people. And then a publisher came and knocked, through LinkedIn and was like, hey, we want you to write a book. And I thought that they were like one of those people that wants to charge you $30,000 to write a book. And I was like, yeah, delete, whatever. And they were like, hey, we want you to write a book. This is the only time in my entire life that I played hot girl, played hard to get because I didn't realize, or else I would have immediately written them back, right? So it's still an accident because I was screwing it up. So my first book was The Power of Company Culture. Then I got really lucky and published a book with my mentor called Remote Work. My company was fully remote as of 2009. Hers was fully remote as of 2003 or 4. And it came out right when the pandemic hit. So just dumb luck. And then after writing that book with her, I realized my first book sucked. And so I rewrote my first book, doubled the size, and re-released it as a properly good book. So the Power of Company Culture, the orange cover one now is my most recent book. And then as you and I were just talking about, I just finished my 4th book, and that'll be out in April. It'll be the working title right now is Moments That Matter. We'll see what we end up with, but that's something about moments you can find later on if you're listening to this podcast years from now. There we go. Yeah. I've evolved an answer on this. So after I wrote my first book, I told everyone I knew, if I ever tell you I'm going to write another book, please lock me in a cage, throw me off a bridge. Like, do not let me do that again. I hated writing my first book. That's because I didn't know what I was doing. If you ask any of my teachers, they would have said, yeah, Chris gets up and talks, but he's not a writer. Like, that's not something that would have been labeled on me. When I wrote my second book, writing with my mentor, and then we used a really good editor, and like the process was very different, and I really enjoyed it. And I learned how to structure things. We kind of took a Scrum and Agile approach to the book, and did the same thing with the third book. And so I really liked it. This time was the most enjoyable, and I will tell you why. One, I think certainly the passion and the oh my gosh, this is the idea I want to go after, this figuring out in that, experience that we had in Denver, like me having that moment to figure out this is where I really want to go. So that kind of fire and passion was great. And which is different than the other books. Publishers came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to write a book. What do you want to write on?" Like, we know, and this job. And so I had to kind of like figure, this time I'm just like, no, that's what I want to do. And then I'll go figure out how to get it published later. Like that, it's a very different process. But I will tell you that AI has been incredibly helpful. The fact that I was able to write this book in a month is because of AI. Now, AI didn't write the book, but because I can go in and be like, hey, I need to find 5 studies on this. I need to find a story that would convey this that hasn't been like in every business book. Like, I would have spent months researching that stuff on Google and reading things and just going into books and going down where I didn't do any of that this time. Now I was like, here's 3 great stories. Okay, I like that story. Now let me go research that and find out more. Like, it was cutting out days and days and days of work for just one little part of a book. So I really enjoyed it this time. Really enjoyed it. Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic reframing. It's like you're a podcast host. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. So let's talk about the mountains. I enjoy climbing big mountains where I'm not going to die. So I will never do Everest or K2 or any of those. Like, there's a good chance you're going to die. Would I like to go to base camp and see Everest? Absolutely. Like, that would be cool. I'm not going on. So, like, Kilimanjaro was this incredible experience of I'm at 20,000. That's higher than most people in the entire world will ever get. And I could feel like I was on top of the world and having that. But I did Kilimanjaro because I needed to get my head straight. I had sold my company and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to be a consultant? Am I going to start another company? Am I going to be a speaker full time? Like, what am I going to? And I was like, that forced me to have 10 days of no phone, of no one else around. I mean, I had people around me, but like not in my day to day stuff. And to just go and be able to think and be present and sit under millions of stars, because we can't see the stars where I'm at, but like, you just to be in nature and to like recalibrate. So I need to sometimes have big goals in order to exercise. I need to have big goals in order to recalibrate and get myself focused, because I'm a natural procrastinator and can be lazy. I can, like, I know how my brain works. I'm not going to do a little, I'm going to go and jog every single day and I'm going to be really good. No, I'm going to be like, I'm going to go climb a mountain. I better go start hiking. Right. That's just how my brain works. Anyone who's able-bodied, that doesn't have any health conditions, whatever, you could go do Kilimanjaro tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow, but like after you've trained a little bit, like, it's not gonna, it's hard, but it's not like you're not scaling walls and ice picks and stuff. Fuji, anybody could do tomorrow. Like, it's only like 14,000. They have like people guiding you where to go. Like, it's a really nice, fun hike. Like, it's a day and a half. Like, but I think that I know that because I was willing to go do it and to try it and to research it. I think I had that curiosity. to find out about it and to be like, oh, I wonder what that would be like. And I think most people, again, going back to our earlier conversation, would rather live in mediocrity and just go up the little hill around the corner and never think about doing something bigger. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, we do. And yeah, and if you're like me and you just need that connection point to get there, right? Then that's what you need to do. So I'm ready.
This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered.
I'm ready. One place I've never been, I'd love to see. Antarctica. I think I did. I think I saw something about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I still think I'll take a boat at this point, but yeah. My biggest guilty pleasure. Oh, I probably have too many wine club memberships. That's probably, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like, do I really need a membership? I can just go to the store if I want to grab a bottle of wine. But like, why do I need to have a boxes showing up at my house? I don't know. It feels like a guilty pleasure. I enjoy nice wine, so does it have grapes in it? And- Okay. I'm a red guy if I had to choose, but I enjoy it all. So yes. You're asking me that's a tough question. Yeah. Hmm. No, I like the question. The problem is there are too many characters. There are so many different characters that I'm thinking about right now that I'm not sure. Um, Mickey Mouse. No, well, I take my grandson to Disneyland a lot, And I kind of have been reintroduced to Mickey, kind of forget about Mickey, right? Mickey's just sort of like whatever. And to be reintroduced to him, the character, he's just like, he's very happy all the time and always like encouraging everybody and always trying to like figure things out. And I don't know, like that seems like a nice way to live. Um, I don't know. Yeah. 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 And, why does Goofy wear pants and Pluto doesn't? I mean, it's just like the weirdest thing. So, CB Pluto, I love it. Um, there's two. One, I know in the first 5 seconds whether or not you're a good person. And I've always been able to do this. I didn't allow myself that permission. Like as a kid, you don't like know you're allowed to do that, or you think, or I was told like you shouldn't judge people. Like I come in like 5, 10 seconds. Now I don't. What I mean is like if you're an evil bad person, like that's what I mean. I can pick up on that very quickly. It got to the point where like every one of our friends, like when they would go to start dating someone seriously, they would call and be like, "Hey, when you go on a date, I need you to meet this person." And because I would like tell, I mean, I didn't tell this one woman like the guy that she was going to get married to. I'm like, he's a bad dude. And she was like, I didn't tell her because I'm like in my 20s. I'm like, it's not my place and blah blah blah. Now I just walk up to people. I'm like, I don't care if you like my opinion or not. That person is not good for you. Like this is bad. The guy ended up hitting her and like taking her money and like running up debt and all that. And it's like after they got a divorce, I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry. That was like the kind of one of the moments of like I need to say something. Like if I have this gut reaction about people, I need to be able to say something. Um, Second one is so if you ever done a strengths finders, my number one strength is ideation. And so I'm really good at if you like throw 100 ideas at me, can be like this idea and this idea. Like these are the two. Like that's kind of my superpower. Like these 98s, you don't need these. These are the two that matter right now. So from a personal aspect, I can help you with your potential partner or spouse. And the business setting, I'm good at like cutting through the noise and figuring out what idea is good for right now. Don't call it therapy. I'll call it coaching, and you're in. Yeah, yeah, it's funny. There we go. I find that's what I'm doing a lot of times when I'm consulting is just telling people, no, this is a really bad employee. Get rid of them. Like, but they sell a lot and they piss everybody off. Like, let's get rid of the cancer, or yeah, right. I was gonna say something around recognition, but we do have Thanksgiving. I don't know. Maybe might be like family day or something where like we have an intentional day where you just go do something with your family, right? That's not, there's no presents, there's no like, you're not singing carols or whatever, like just something I think where you spend time with the people you love the most. Could be friends and family, like that kind of a thing. I don't know. National picnic day, like everyone goes on a picnic and you hang out with the people and you just like, I don't know, slow down and enjoy them for the day. It is, but again, sometimes we need like the intentionality around it. So, I think it needs to be right when the day after the first day of summer. It changes because it depends on a little bit. It changes a little bit. So, like All right. The first Saturday after summer begins. Fine, 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 fine. Let's make it June 1st. Okay. Love it. That'd be a pretty good one. But listen, it could all be on Zoom or whatever. It's fine. I love it. I liked the rapid fire questions and we got into some weird stuff that, I don't always get asked. So you made me have to stop and think. I could have said I wanted to be Quagmire from Family Guy. Because he's a pilot. It's like that. I love travel. I love getting on planes. So it'd be nice if I was a pilot. So yeah, it is thousands of hours of flying just to be. And I'm good. There we go. There we go. Like I'm 50. Like I'll just pay my way onto the plane and go where I want to go now. I'm okay. If you go to Amazon and put in my name, you can find my books. I'm not the Peruvian psychedelic artist. I am the author guy. So that's a different Chris Dyer. You can text 33777 and just put my name, Chris, as the message, and I will send you a free little PDF that's got like questions you can ask your employees, meeting types that you could create some more intentionality. And again, giving them different types of ways to show up. If you want to go on any of the social media platforms, I'm there. So I do a lot on TikTok and Instagram Reels or LinkedIn, or you can just go to my site, chrisdyer.com. There's lots of stuff there if you're interested in more resources or my books and things like that.